Good Monday evening, good peoples. It is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. Let's jump in here on REX weekly payer for their 4 funds along with our comparison data. So they declared for their underlying MSTR, their fund is MSII, very low payment. I think it was 31 cents. I'll go through the payment history here in a minute in a different location. So 0.0988, yielding 23.26. I've been saying for some time that MSTR was not keeping up. Of course, this last week, we really had the pullback. We got up to almost 125, and we've subsequently pulled back in BTC as well. So COII from REX, all ending in IIs, guys. So they should be forthcoming with more funds soon. And on that one, they paid 13 cents, down also 28.62, 0.1353 on COYY. Their NVIDIA fund paid the highest of the lot and the highest yield. It paid 21.91, 0.21, almost 22 cents on NVII. That yield was 34.72, yield on cost. All right. The Tesla fund, TSII, paid 11 cents. That is a 24.24 yield, slightly above the MicroStrategy REX fund MSII. All right, let's look at the comparisons. All right, so I've been busy. I did not update this last week. We'll do that in the future. But what I did do so that we compare all the funds is make sure that I'm up to date with revenue. So these are all the last payments. Well, when you're a monthly guy, you're always coming up on a payment. This one's not that close, but some of the funds, like the COII fund, will declare this Wednesday, right? I did my estimate already, so I think it's safe to say it'll be 30, 40 cents. I'm not expecting a lot from COII. That's down quite a bit from the last payment. That'll be relevant when we get into the coin comparisons. But other than that, you can kind of see what the payments are. So looking at this. Now, some have been out there longer. So, guys, I continue to get comments when I show my data on comparison. Somebody will say, well, COIW didn't start on 6/4. It started on February 19th. Duh. Yeah, I know that. You understand that I show them all with their real start dates. And then in order to be completely apples to apples, you have to look at the exact same time frame, because that may be a bullish or a bearish stance. So if you look at a fund for 2 months and it's in a, if you had a fund that was only paying NVIDIA for the last 2 months, that fund just did a V-shaped up move over the last 2 months plus, right? Going on 3 months. Now it's stabilized at the top. So that's not fair on considering a fund that watched it go down in that V shape, right? So you want to compare funds in like times. Well, sometimes you don't have that choice. The fund is new, but whenever a new fund, now all these 6/4 dates work because I can compare the funds that have been around a long time during that same 6/4 time frame. So guys, if you just listen to the video, you guys are in a hurry, you're rushed. Look, I know many of you working, commuting, maybe have kids. There's all kinds of things that can press on your time. I get why. Just give me the data. But the kind of data I do is a deep dive. So I can sum it up for you, but then don't send me a comment because you didn't pay attention to the detail to say, hey, that's the wrong launch date. Okay, yeah, it happens to say launch date, but it's for that comparative. Sorry, I'm going to go into my rant because it's annoying. I try and be helpful and respond to all that, but you can't have it both ways. You can't hurry me up in one segment, then, say this data is wrong when it's not wrong at all. I explain in the video why it's that way. All right. So having said that, you have new declarations recently. 51 cents from Granite shares, right? You had 21 cents from REX just today. And then your last one the other day, and that's still to be paid tomorrow, is the 108 from Roundhill for NDW. So outstanding payment here. All their payments last week. Be interesting to see what they do next week with the markets or for the next declaration. All right, let's go look at the Tesla funds. By the way, just an info. Some of you, you chase yield, you look at funds. I've been commenting constantly, oh yeah, the Tesla funds are all beaten down, the NAV has gone way down. Well, that very instance drives me to remind you that I think, okay, it's a good buying place to buy some. Now, you saw what I said about the markets. It may not be relative, but I'm not a seer in the sense of telling you exactly what the market's going to do. I'm just giving you common signals and things that says to me the market should go down, whether it's in August or get through those brutal months of September and October where we have more decline than normal. I'm not saying it's going down. I'm saying the data will tell us, right? NVIDIA earnings will be huge. Other economic data coming forth. We're very toppy right now. Could it run another 3 to 6 months? Absolutely. But the longer you say 3 months, yeah, I give that a 30% probability, 40%. 6 months, probably a 20% probability. I give a 70% probability that we at least have a 5 to 10% correction in the next 80 days, right? The September and October month. Again, I can be wrong. No, nobody's saying it, but when you get extended, it's a good idea. Not if you're a first timer and you had a bunch of money, just come in and plow it all into the market. You can be bullish, okay? But I'm bullish in certain segments, and other segments I'm not so bullish. All right, so enough of my rant. The Tesla fund. TSYY recently, granted, paid 22.5. Curve, which pays once a month, is due again for August at some point, paid 45 cents. TSII REX today declared 11 cents. Okay, Tesla, its last declaration, we're now declaring this Wednesday on Group C. They were in Group A, right? So they're another um, 10 days or 7 days away from this Wednesday on getting, no, that'll go, sorry, we're in Group C. It'll go to Group D, then go to Group A. So they're a couple of 2.5 weeks away from their next declaration. And we just got this last week, which will pay tomorrow from TSLW, 85 cents. Outstanding again, okay? So the only thing I didn't do was update this last week and look for the dailies. I will. How'd the MSTR thing shake out? Well, MST declared the other day 21.8 last week. So these guys is a week, they're pretty consistent. Their problem is what could be good in a real bull market with 200% leverage is a boat anchor when MSTR is flat to down. And that's why what's hurting them is the NAV. If I own 100 shares, I did just threw some money at it so I could experience it firsthand. I can see it in the numbers, but I can experience it. Okay. MSII is, I think, oh yeah, that's the right here, right? So they declared the REX 0.0988. IMST is a monthly payer, so we're coming up on that. I think they're only a week away, and they've had a $7 payment, a 186, and a $2.91. So they're going to move up a little on their ranking based on their next payment coming. Misty's last payment was 118. Well, we're doing Group C, so Misty's in Group D. So they're only 9 days away from their next declaration. Okay. So I just try and remind people when you're comparing these. If it's really tight, I may go in and do an estimate for them, and they're only 3 days away. So otherwise, the weekly's been able to throw 3 weeks at it, and you're waiting a month for that. But I do like to be fair in my comparisons. All right, coin. How do we set with coin? Again, I'm going to compare them all in comparison. So in Coney, you're literally 2 days away. This is Monday evening. Sooner than that, really, tomorrow night, early morning, Wednesday, we will get Coney. I had an estimate, I think, of around 38 cents. I don't remember it exactly, 35. Not going to be a fantastic payer. It may pay 40 cents. It's not going to pay 79. So I'll take that into consideration. I won't put a number in, but I'll take it into consideration if it would make a difference when I do my rankings. Okay, so Rex came out with 0.584 today. The last Roundhill last week, which pays tomorrow on Tuesday, is a 107. What a killer. And Koi had a 73 a couple days ago on their declaration. So all the numbers are there. Let's jump in for what we have. All right, this is a summary, guys. Anybody who says, well, Bruce, could you just put it in one place? I didn't see it. Okay, there it is. I read it. Take a look. I know when you watch a video, then you got to go back, but most of you would freeze it if you owned something and you found out and you'd write it down. All right, let's look at these. So again, a reminder for those that are going to message me and say, no, you got the wrong date. So what do? I give you the funds with their real dates. All right, so 3 of these funds, well, one's the underlying, NVII and NVDW. Now, NVIDIA's gone back a lot longer than 219, but NVDW launched then. So I at least want to have a series of where I show that, right? I don't want to go back so far that then NVIDIA looks good or bad based on what happened in that 6, 8, 10 months prior to 219. It's just not fair. So neither is a fund like this being green that launched on 528, which is, halfway into the run up. So of course they look good. But let's look at everybody in that same 528 and see if they can still win. Okay. So that's the purpose of why I do what I do, guys. All right. So up here, these are comparing apples and oranges. I guess you could say in NVDW and NVIDIA, since they both are at the same time frame. So it's 49% for NVDW and 32%. Let me make sure everything. Yeah, 181 days. Okay. So not quite 2 to 1, but that's pretty substantial. And the issue, what's the issue there? Clearly, NVIDIA has outpaid on yield on NVDW in this same 219 timeframe. But it comes down to the NAV erosion. You have only 4.87 since February, or actually you're up 4.87. You have a 37% NAV loss here. All right, this to me, I can extract NVDA. I don't really care. But by the way, who won this scenario? NVIDIA did better in 219 than either one of them, which goes back to the underlying, right? All right, so on a 528 sort, right, we have to change our distribution amount, right, because it's operating on everybody the same. But here, NVII stands out with a 276% total return. They just blew away. Look at that. Look at the yield, okay? In Granite, and yield max to the win. Both of them pay over 100% annualized yield since 528. In other words, they've made big payments, right? And they went up, but so did everybody else, and everybody else went up a lot more because they weren't having to recover from such massive payouts. Okay. So of those, Granite was the loser, right? Even though they paid 103% return, they only had a total return of 136. NVII at 169. But those don't compare to the leverage that you have with NVDW. While it paid less than half of a yield, it blew them away on the leverage, except for REX. So kudos to REX on this behavior. It'll be interesting to see in 9 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year, right, that they're all out. So that's the purpose of, not only did they, look good here, so their number is going to be the same, right? They launched on 528, but now I have all the other ones only compared at the 528 level, which is a very positive run up. Okay, let's look at the Tesla funds. So everyone is negative, okay, because they're all 219 involved, even Tesla itself. Well, it's not compare then. It's not fair to compare TSII, is it? From 6.4 launch. Not relevant. It's not apples to apples. So let's look at everybody at 6.4. Well, now it gets more interesting. TSII is still winning this one, the REX fund. You even have a negative on Roundhill, minus 6%. You have a Tesla 0.26, barely made it positive, but they made it positive. So the winner is TSII. So they held that. They held what they did, right, in the sense that they won against these guys, but it's not a fair fight. Now I brought them into a fair fight, and Granite's pushing them. Look at Granite. Again, massive yield, guys. So even I bought some COII with that big, but I kind of said, hey, COI's retrace. It's an okay time to buy. Could the markets push it down again? Sure, right? And I already am forewarned, so I don't put a lot of money in it in COI because I know that Granite can have this issue, 76. But at the end of the day, if I got a 27.30 return and, 5 other competitors, only one beat it and it beat it a little bit, I get to the use of this money along the way. So that could be some argument. Yeah, they're both weekly payers, but I'm getting bigger paydays along the way. I'm getting almost a 3-to-1. But that's close, and you give. That's why I made them both green. But technically, TSII from REX won that. All right, let's get down here. Let's see when REX doesn't win or Roundhill doesn't win. Well, how about our micro strategies? But honestly, micro strategies now what Tesla was up until now losing, right? And I've called that out. I've explained that out, guys. I said that's why I sold my Misty because I don't see MSTR performing, but I'm still bullish on BTC. Eventually, MSTR will perform. It's not right now. So all the funds that are based on MSTR are in the same issue. You have one since, okay, so we're going to go to 6.4 in a minute. So when you go here, you got April, you got May, you got June launches, and then you have 2 of these that I can go back to 219 on. I could go further, but I'm trying to keep them somewhat in the same time frame. And then that's exactly what I do here. Everybody's 6.4, but it's time now with 3 payments just to throw MSTW, the Roundhill launch, Only got 26 days, so it's not a fair comparison, right? I'd have to make everybody 724. I'm not going to do that, but what I'll do in 2 or 3 months is I'll make all these 724 because this will have 3 or 4 months on its time period. So MSII 680 looks good over negatives from the other three fronts from Misty. MST's problem is simply the leverage. If this was a fantastic up move in MSTR, then MST is going to be your winner because it's going to grow, right? Its NAV gain is going to be big. Instead of, look at this, minus 81 in 3 months. Well, 2.5 months. That's ugly, guys. All right, let's look at coin and then we'll be done. So on coin, all of the underlying funds for coin, we have 5-2 across everybody except the REX fund. All right. So in that sense, look how much Roundhill did, 252. They're clearly the winner here, other than the underlying. Again, oftentimes the funds don't beat the underlying, but they do pay you money. So let's go where the rubber meets the road. Except again, I've got a player in here that I have to push down to the bottom. So I really can't count them. They're only since 729, but look at your 624 players now. So COIW came to the win. They were winning here and they kept that, although it's close, right? So ICOI is in the mix because they do make those big payments. Remember that $9? They paid $4 and $9, and they're coming up in a week or two to make another payment. So that can bring them back into the fold. They're definitely competitive. I do like COIW, and I think coin has pulled back enough to where it's maybe investable right now, whereas some other things they may hold off with market pressures. All right, guys, this is Bruce with Targeted Wealth Creation. Hope you enjoy these. I'll get that updated so I can look at a few days inside a MSTR one and watch how they respond to the market daily. But I think my summary in apples to apples over similar time works. And the same thing here. 3 months down the line, I'll be able to make everybody 729 and we can take a look at that. All right, guys, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Thank you to all of my subscribers. My channel is growing. My Patreon, guys, I can't thank you enough. People came out of the woodwork. I was like, I offered this thing. I thought I might get 1 or 2 people, and it might. And what's happened is I've got over 50 people in my Patreon, and they're saying, Bruce, I've been following you, and I bought SIL, I bought GDX, I'm up. Hey, I love your reviews of stuff. So that warmth and that following that's happening over there from the channel, I can't thank you enough. And I promise I'll continue to put this kind of content and more out for all you guys. Okay, I'm constantly updating Patreon, some buy recommendations, articles on what I'm seeing, and some of those I also place. But if it's in my higher pay tiers, I'm gonna wait a little while, guys. Um, if anybody, I think I put the margin one even to my free members in Patreon, and then I also put it on YouTube, which is only fair. But when it goes behind that paywall, I'm not always going to bring it over immediately to the channel, guys. So some of you should consider Patreon at $5 or $10 a month. I think it's value. But I am going to continue to do enough content here to grow my YouTube channel. All right, guys, I'll let you go. Not financial advice, and I'm not a financial advisor. Bye for now.